Hey y'all, it's Brody, and today I'm here to talk to you about some of my favorite book tropes. This isn't just like tropes, this is settings or character types or like dynamics in the book or themes or whatever. It's just things that I like in books that are like kind of specific that will usually make me pick it up. Hi, I'm wearing a different shirt and my hair's different because it's a different day. Um, some of the footage got corrupted, and today's the day I'm editing this, so I just wanted to sit down and refilm the footage and say that this video was inspired by Kayla's video from Books and La La. Video link down below, so make sure you go check that out if you haven't already. And I feel like the first like oddly specific thing I liked is cheerleaders going through shit. So that could be like serious stuff like Exit Pursued by a Bear by E.K. Johnston, or like more lighthearted things like Tell Me How You Really Feel by Amina May Safi, or it could just be like the concept of cheerleaders in general. I don't even need there to be a cheerleader character. I just need the theme of cheerleaders to be present, like in The Cheerleaders by Kara Thomas. Another thing that like The Cheerleaders covers is like books that have like a realistic and yet like very over dramatic small town vibe. So things like Riverdale. So you have The Cheerleaders by Kara Thomas. You have Panic by Lauren Oliver. This is one of my favorite like OG books. Like that was one of the first books I picked up because of book 2. And then more recently, you have Wild and Crooked by Leah Thomas and Sadie by Courtney Summers. So like books where there's like a small group of people and there's like a mystery going on. I really like that, similar to like The Devouring Grey. Another thing that The Devouring Grey covers, I hope you see how I'm formatting this. I'm like, this is leading into this, which is leading into this, which is leading into this. So The Devouring Grey also has Riverdale vibes, everyone knows this. But also, I like whenever different groups of people have different powers. So in The Devouring Grey, like each one of the founding families has like a special kind of power. Something that may make like a little more sense is like Percy Jackson, how like all of the Greek gods' children have that power, but no one has like the same power. It's like all of Poseidon's kids can control water. All of Apollo's kids, they're good at archery and stuff like that. Also, like Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse with the clan powers, or like Three Dark Crowns by Kendar Blake, where you have the poisoners and the naturalists and the elementals. I really like that. Three Dark Crowns leads into descriptions of pretty dresses. This is like my number one thing that like will draw me to like a fantasy, especially, or a historical fiction, is if there are very in-depth descriptions of pretty dresses. So, like I said, stuff like Three Dark Crowns, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. That was one of the reasons this book got a high rating for me, was because of the pretty dress descriptions. As well as House of Salt and Sorrows by Aaron A. Craig. There's like an entire live show on my channel. You can hear me talk about all of the tropes that are in this book that I loved, but pretty dresses were number one. Also, a nautical, aquatic, ocean theme. It can be in like any sense of like aquatic. This can be like a horror book or something with like killer sharks. Like here we have The Meg by Steve Alton. Jaws, which is also killer sharks. We have Song for a Whale. This is like a diverse middle grade. So like not just horror, but like just the ocean in general. It doesn't even have to be sharks or whales. I like books about mermaids, like Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant, and September Girls, like Motherfucking Sharks, or Motherfucking Sharks also takes place in like a desert town. That's another thing I like. So like books set in the desert or in like the Old West. So like Vengeance Road by Aaron Bowman. Also, one thing I like to see in Vengeance Road is the Native American character. Now granted, I do prefer own voices, representation for indigenous characters, but I'm happy whenever I see it in a place where it should be. If it's a Wild West story, then you should have a Native American character. So things like The New Mutants, Demon Bear Saga, or Code Talkers by Joseph Bruchac. I love Native American characters, be it like fantasy, like Race to the Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, or historical fiction, or like a modern literary sense, like They're There by Tommy Orange. Love me some good, indigenous representation. I like in there is like the complex family dynamics. Not everyone's related, but a lot of people are. And so I love, it can be like a mother, daughter, father, son, sibling complex relationship. It can be like your great grandmother and your uncle. Like, I just love like family drama. So I have like Wild Beauty by Anna Marie McLemore, where it's like this entire family of women. Or The Serpent King by Jeff Zentner, which has a very complex like father-son dynamic. Or My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyenkon Braithwaite, which has like all the family drama, but mainly like between two sisters. Fablehaven by Brandon Mull. This is like a brother-sister grandparent fantasy. Okay, here's where we get into like a little bit more of the niche things, I think. I love books about video games and virtual reality. So Ready Player One, I love. Slay by Brittany Morris, I love I like the thought. I'm not a huge gamer in real life, but I love the idea of being like sucked into a video game and being your like avatar. I think it's so fun to me. The pop culture references that are usually in video games. I really enjoy video games as a setting and also as a plot device, because I feel like with that it can really help move it forward. Another thing that I love are morally gray protagonists. I have an entire video where I recommend books with morally gray protagonists that I like, but I don't have all of them today. I'm just going to show you a few of them. Obviously, I can't make a video talking about favorite anything without talking about Wilder Girls by Rory Power. I like that because they feel like they're truly morally gray in the sense that they're only after their own best interest. You have things like Six of Crows, where they're all criminals, or Queen of the Conquered, or Forest of a Thousand Lanterns, where it's like politically charged. Like in this one, they're both trying to get to the top, and I love that they're not going to let anything stop them, be it right or wrong. And there's a lot of moral struggle in these books. So I like a good morally struggling character. Not necessarily morally gray. I like when they have to like debate and have that inner conflict about it. Here's another one I like is mythology, but specifically Greek mythologies, just because like I started with Greek mythology. That's what I've been standing forever. So books like Circe by Madeline Miller, or Aphrodite Made Me Do It by Tristan Mattier. Aphrodite is my main one right now. I also love some Hades and some Persephone, and just also any like underrepresented one. Thank you. I'm so glad you decided to drive by just now. Appreciate it. Not just Greek mythology though. I like when authors can take things from different lore, different mythologies, different belief systems, and also throughout history, and put them together like Michael Scott did. I just call it the Nicholas Flamel series, but it takes like lore from all over the world. Not just Eurocentric, but like myths and legends from everywhere, and just like bleeds them all together. And I love that. I love seeing all of these stories connect in some way, and these different historical figures like Billy the Kid or like Joan of Arc having repertoire with like a goddess like Hecate or Bastet. It's really interesting to me. Another thing, I know that it's kind of a hot button topic. I like my witchcraft in books. I like witchcraft to be any sense of the word. I love like very serious portrayals of witchcraft that are like accurate to my practices. Things like The Lost Coast by Amy Rose Capetta, to very campy and over the top, like The Witches by Roald Dahl or Undead Girl Gang by Lily Anderson. I want to see all the witches represented. I love just like campy, goofy, oh no, I did the spell wrong, and now everything is like disaster. I love it. And I know that that's, because I am a practicing witch, I know that that's like a little bit of a weird territory. I don't speak for everyone. I don't find campy witchcraft stuff offensive. That's just me personally. It doesn't bother me. I think it's fun. So here's another one. I like books that feel like straight to $5 bin video DVD horror movies. I don't know how else to describe it. I like these really weird niche horror books that are coming out that like don't definitely do not appeal to everyone, but you know, they definitely appeal to me. So things like The Sacrifice Box by Martin Stewart. This has like a demon in a box, like an entity that a deal was made with, and all of these things from people's past is coming back to haunt them. There's dead animals in this. And things like Five Midnight by Via Cardinal, which is about a cuckoo. Like, I love me some good YA horror that doesn't take itself too seriously. Also, things like There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. I love slashers. Slasher is my favorite subgenre of horror, and I wish we had more slasher books. I'm still holding out for more slasher books. I'm starting to run out of titles to show you, because so many of these can fit multiple points. That's why I laid it out this way. I love books with the protagonist that feels like an Emma Roberts character. So a main character who's very like spoiled and bratty, who has like a Chanel Oberlin vibe or a Madison Montgomery vibe. So like basically The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. I love like a bratty, rude, rich girl who like has to learn a lesson, and if she doesn't, she's fucked. Queer books in any capacity. I like friends to lovers, soft contemporary. I like YA thrillers, or just thrillers in general. I also am a big fan of thrillers. I like urban fantasy stuff. I love all the queer books. Give me all the queer books. So I'm not saying that like I love all queer books that I read. Clearly, that's not the case. But I feel like diversity does definitely get points with me. I like books with different ethnicities. I like books where characters have disabilities, or like books with fat rep. I like seeing the world represented in the way that it really is. Another thing I like is, oh, I dropped it. A very, very, I don't know how to explain this, but I like this idea of like girls being isolated and being messy. What I'm talking about is you put a bunch of girls together and they're messy and bad. So, obviously, Wilder Girls, or things like The Grace Year by Kim Liggett. I like seeing teenage girls being allowed to be messy, because society says, like, you can't be messy. And I'm like, no, subvert that shit. Make the girls the ones who are, like, killing each other and fighting for food. I love to see it. I love to see girls being allowed to be angry and messy and dirty. It's one of my favorite things. Next, this is a book that I do not claim to like in any capacity. But I like pop culture references, specifically things like The Babysitter's Coven. There's a lot of Buffy references. There's some Star Wars references, Harry Potter references. I know people say that like pop culture references date books, but I disagree. I think they're fun. Also, love me a babysitter character. Give me a babysitter character who can kick ass. I also like books with schools in them. Not necessarily magical schools. I like college books. I don't like when books are necessarily set in a high school, but I definitely prefer like college age school stuff. I feel like it makes it a little more mature. So like, I guess dark academia, but I don't know if I've ever technically read a dark academia book. This is one that I've only encountered in a single book, but I love whenever fiction becomes reality. So in like The Magicians by Lev Grossman, how there's this book series about this place called Fillory, and then they go to Fillory, like in real life, you know what I mean? Like, there's a book, there's a story in the story, but then they go to that story within the story. Does that make sense? I think like the Hazelwood also has this thing in it. There you go. Those are some of my favorite tropes and character types and settings. I have a lot more. I just ran out of books to show you. I ran out of time to film. I've been filming for a half an hour straight. Comment question of the day. I want you to comment down below, give me some book recommendations with these tropes. I have plans for future videos involving this, but I need as many recommendations as you can give me. So, give me books with cheerleaders going through shit. Give me books with oceanic settings. Give me books that feel like Riverdale. Give me dark academia. Give me morally great characters. Give me all the recommendations. If you've read any of the books that I've mentioned, which is a lot, if you've read any of them, let me know your thoughts about them down in the comments, but remember to keep those spoiler-free so people don't get spoiled and I don't get yelled at. Also, let me know what some of your favorite tropes are, if we have any similar reading tastes. I feel like there are a lot that I didn't really talk about. And as always, if you don't have time to answer the comment question, just leave me a yellow heart so I know that you made it to this point in the video and watched all the way to the end. Alright, I hope you have a wonderful whatever it is, wherever you are. I will see you next time with another video. Alright, thank you for watching. Bye.